Hi everybody, it's Thursday, July 24th, 2025. Today's episode begins with our first headline, Rare Earth Miners on Vertical Rise. The ETF that I use to track and invest in rare earth metals, rare earth metal miners, is REMX. I've been talking about it on several shows. Went up another 4% today. Just from the beginning of June, we're up over 55%. It largely has to do with the United States not wanting to be having to rely on China for rare earth metals as we have done for a long time. Back in 2011 when things got out of hand and people invested a little too much in REMX and rare earth metals, generally the fallout from that didn't end so well. So this thing can have a lot of bullish and bearish periods. Point being is this Yahoo Finance article pretty much sums it all up that I found here. I just want to quote, the U.S. Department of Defense this month agreed to a multi-billion-dollar deal to become the largest shareholder in the Australian company MP Materials, the sole U.S. miner of the magnetic metals used in electronics, electric vehicles, and aircraft engines. As a part of the deal, it offered a floor price of $110 per kilogram for the two most popular rare earth metals, a price nearly twice the current Chinese market level. So the Department of Defense in the U.S. is investing in rare earth metals, and so it's going up, and so it's like free money from the government as long as you're exposed to this, I guess. Just like you don't want to be bearish on gold when central governments around the world are buying it no matter what the price, similar kind of thing going on. So I'm curious how much this will continue. Just on the chart pattern standpoint, the REMX, we had a major pivot at $57. It being a vertical rise, I have no idea when this will stop. Will we go all the way back up to $300 the way it was in 2011, or $350? Or are we ever is this going to stop at some point? As it is, today's price of $54.88 doesn't seem to, I don't see any trend line that I can connect to it that makes any sense. So I think we're headed at least to $57. Next stop, 62. We got a little pivot there. Next fight zone that's acted as both support and resistance, 73. Above that, 78. Above that, 88.40, 98.30, 190, and 105.88. And then above there, the gaps get even wider as far as psychological points. I've been maintaining 5% of REMX in my portfolio because I like to have 5 to 10% exposure to metals at all times, and this is the metal part of my portfolio. So I'm at 7% right now. If it goes above 10%, I will start chopping away at it, selling it off as it goes higher, which it looks like it's going to. But remember, guys, no advice. I'm just a crazy guy with a crystal ball here. Today we also had initial jobless claims and continuing jobless claims coming out steady. It's no longer it's no longer obvious that the job market is just totally falling apart. I was mentioning really since the middle of April until the middle of June how this had just been going on a tear to the upside. This is the continued claims. And I'm like, okay, if this doesn't stop going up, then this is it. This is the recession. But since June, the week ending June 14th, Saturday, June 14th, we've been going basically sideways. We're not falling back down, but we're also not continuing to spike up. So jobs are currently intact, or so it seems. We get a lot of good jobs data coming out next week. And third headline today is the PMIs. Just to do a quick review, the services are still expanding. Anything over 50 is expansion, and it expanded at a higher rate than expected. 53, it expanded at 55, and the manufacturing actually got a little bit of contraction while expansion was expected. Moving on to community topics. I have a question for the community. What is your end of year prediction on the S&P 500? Comment below. Do you think the S&P 500 is going to be at 4,000, 3,500? Think it's going to be 7,000 or somewhere in between? Comment below. I'm very curious what the Robschild community thinks, where the S&P 500 will be now that we're, past midway through the year. What's your end of year prediction? Coming up, as I just said, next week we have a lot of jobs data, starting on Tuesday with job openings, an important piece of the beverage curve. If there's no job openings, if the openings dry up, well, that can be very problematic. It can act as a leading indicator to things falling apart. We also have Wednesday GDP of quarter two coming out on Wednesday. Remember, quarter one was negative. If we get another quarter, 2 quarters in a row of negative GDP, well, that's typically defined as a recession, although the jobs market hasn't fallen apart yet. So according to the NBER, officially you can't call it a recession unless no one has jobs, which makes sense. But anyway, that's an important number. I'm super curious what it's going to say. And then Thursday we have PCE, the Fed favorite gauge of inflation, and as always the Jobless Claims weekly. And then Friday, the big employment report. How many people out there say, I want a job and can't get it? How many people have given up on even looking for jobs? That's been going up. How many people have been getting the employment that they want? All of that is revealed on Friday. And as always, coming up, continuous tariff updates. Remember, guys, August 1st, the unpause button on the tariff situation is supposed to happen next Friday, August 1st. So watch out for that. The last time the tariffs was a wave of tariffs, that was in April when the stock market crashed 20%. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. As always, thank you for watching, subscribing, commenting, and supporting. I'm finally at 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for all of your support. No changes to the daily reminders macro views. See my website in the description to read through these extremely important daily reminders. The crystal ball readings and the Robschild portfolio, also no changes. On to the charts, starting with the SPX, the S&P 500, eking out a 0.07% gain, officially an all-time high. People that are really good at drawing trend lines tell me that we're not really out of the woods yet to climb all the way to the 7,000. I'll let you guys know if I hear that the floodgates will be opening in that direction. Most traders out there are seeing this as potentially a top or a topping area. Next is copper with a PhD in economics. If you remember yesterday, I said we did not get a close above this big shadow on the day that it was announced that we're going to have all these tariffs on copper. So copper exploded higher, but that shadow hurt a lot of people thinking that copper was going to go higher. So it's hard to get above the top of that wick, and it's proving to it's the same story today. We still don't have a close over the top of this wick. Remember, a red candle, the close is on the bottom of the candle, the solid part of the candle, so that's clearly below the wick still. This shadow can act as a good resistance spot where copper may actually top out here, but I'm really not sure. One other thing I'm going to add is whenever you have shadows, those shadows act as resistance points. It's like the market tried to go that way, but failed. That's what the wick represents. During the day, it went all the way up there and then it went back down. So the sellers kind of pushed it back down. So we may have a top in copper. We'll see what happens from this point moving forward. SMH, follow the semis. Very common Wall Street adage, as I've been talking about. We're still inside of this largish red candle that we had on Tuesday, suggesting that there is more downside probably to come. SMH is not looking, this isn't a very strong looking chart pattern, at least to me. On the other hand, you know, every one of these recent breaks has been bought and has gone higher, so not really sure what to do with it, but it's one of the more interesting charts right now. Last chart of the day, I haven't brought this up for a while, the Russell 2000. IWM is the ETF I like to use to track it. Just wanted to mention that we've been finally sort of consolidating here. You know, previously it was higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. We're finally starting to find some resistance. The momentum has definitely been slowing down in IWM in the same fight zone area that we had before. So, you know, can the bulls take us higher or not? Not really sure. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Robschild.